Hi, this is Dr. Frank Chopatini with Church of Rational Truth here at the beginning of May 2021. It is our first video of the month, so we're going to go over last month's finances, which I'm sure everybody's super excited for. We had last month, let me just pull these up, a total of $300 in donations. The endowment brought in $1.69 in investment income, and our total assets right now are 706.58. The change in assets from last month we had a total of $392.92. Now it's up to $706.58 with total change of $313.66. We currently have $704.75 in equities. If you want to see the long list of those equities, we will put a link below. We'll also put a link on the website so you can actually see exactly what equities we own, how many of them we own. Oh gosh, how many do we own now? We own 23 different equities right now and a total of 39 shares. So not a huge endowment, but we're getting there and we're starting to see some income. What we will do, and expenses, we've got to talk about expenses. There were none this month because we didn't have any recurring fees. We didn't have anything going out. So the good thing is we are being very economical with this and not wasting any money. So what we will do then with that investment income is over the next week, we'll take any suggestions from members. Obviously, it's not a huge amount of income to dispense towards church goals. So what will most likely happen is we'll probably reinvest it. But any members, how this works is they can suggest any good causes for any church goals, whether it's towards a certain topic of research, whether it's towards another charitable event, whether it's towards something to improve the church or the church's facilities. Those can be recommended by any member, and then what the advisors will do is look over it, and as long as it goes with the ideals and tenets of the church, we'll decide, do we put it on the list of things to vote for? Then every member gets a vote equal to their share in that investment income, and that goes directly towards whichever thing they vote for. But I'm assuming with this, the only thing is probably going to be just reinvest, but we will see. We'll see if anybody has any suggestions. If any non-members or anyone who's just viewing has suggestions, you can always, put them in the comments or put them on Discord, and we can always think about it. But to be properly put in for the advisors to look at, a member has to recommend it. So we will see if there's anything else, and then what will happen is next week, during the next week's video, we will go over whatever is approved by the advisors, and then there will be a vote that week on who puts what money where. Not a huge amount of money, but each month hopefully it'll grow and grow, and hopefully we'll have more. We'll probably have like $5 to $7-ish next month, but we'll have to see. With that, that is it for the expenses. We'll keep that kind of brief. But I was going to do a very short talk on just emotions, why we have emotions, what are emotions, and what that means, and how we can adapt or understand them. So for me, I work with a lot of patients. I see a lot of psychiatric patients. I do child psychiatry about 3 days a week for about 8 hours a day. So I deal with emotional issues a lot. And this is going to be just a quick talk of like, why do we have emotions? What is the good and bad about having emotions? And basically, emotions are an innate response that is hopefully going to try to drive us towards some sort of improvement. So the good emotions like happiness and joy, those are like a reward. They are our brain telling us, yeah, you did this, go do it again. The negative emotions like anxiety and depression, anger, usually they are there to help us. They're there not to hurt us. They're there to help motivate us to do something, to help change something. I usually talk with my patients who are dealing with anxiety and depression. Do you think anxiety and depression is a good thing? Should you have anxiety and depression? If I gave you the thing I always propose is, if I was to give you a magic wand and you could wave it and you can get rid of all anxiety and depression, would you wave that magic wand? Would you get rid of it all? And most people usually stop thinking, you go, oh, that's a crazy question. Of course I get rid of depression. And then they go, well, no, okay, I see your point. There's a reason for those feelings. The way that they are supposed to help us, those negative emotions, is they're supposed to tell us something is wrong. They're supposed to be a warning sign. Like, hey, your taxes are due in 2 weeks. You should be thinking about this. Or depression, hey, you haven't been doing anything in terms of getting life goals done. You haven't been working. You're in a slump. You have to change something. That is what those emotions are for. And just like everything, there is a range. There is a range between what is a good amount of emotion and a bad amount of emotion. And that goes for the good emotions and the bad emotions. A lot of times in medicine, we only see a lot of people coming in complaining of the bad emotions because no one wants to feel the bad emotions. But there is also a range of good emotions that's too much. Like you see that in mania, or you see that in personality disorders, where the person just has even too much joy or good emotion. Same thing goes for things like, greed and empathy, which I think we talked about in a previous video. There's a wide range, and it's all about kind of finding what is that appropriate balance of all the emotions, good and bad. And I usually say the emotions are good when they are serving their cause, but not when they are so strong that they are causing additional negative or negative beyond the good that they're trying to accomplish. And when I talk about patients about whether they should do therapy or whether they should even do a medication for depression, anxiety, or emotions, my biggest question is always, is this appropriate and is this causing additional harm? So if someone is coming in saying that they're depressed, and I need to know why. It's not just like, oh, you're depressed, take this pill because depression is bad. Is that depression a good depression, or is that depression something that we do have to do something to decrease? So, for example, if your family just recently was in a car accident and passed away, good reason to be depressed. You should feel sad about those things because you're going to have a lot of adjustments. You're going to have to deal with a lot of emotions. Versus everything is fine. You've got no reason to. Your life is going good. You've checked off all your life goals on your life goal chart, and you're still feeling depressed. And now it's affecting your ability to work or to take care of your own ordeals. Well, okay, now that is negative. That depression isn't really helping you get anything done. Is that something that needs to be addressed? Is that something else needs to be changed? When diving into that, when you're starting to talk about pathologic depression, pathologic anxiety, and even pathologic joy or mania or narcissistic tendencies, you have to say why. Why is this going on? And traditionally, the way I cut it down, personally, now this is not the most scientific, but I usually cut it down into how much of this is innate, how much of this was you were just born with this set level, versus how much is actually situational, meaning how much is due to what has gone on in your life or what is currently going on in your life. The innate emotions, some people are going to be born with a bigger range of emotion, stronger emotions, or just stronger certain emotions, like a predisposition towards anger, a predisposition towards anxiety, depression. And normally you can see that everyone in their family, or at least a good number of people in their family, they're always nervous, or everyone always has big emotions or big ranges. So there is most likely a certain amount that we are born with in terms of what our starting stats are in terms of emotions. You could see this a lot as another example, not that this once again is not at all scientific, but you can see this in certain dog breeds. Certain dog breeds, like German shepherds, are known for anxiousness. They are known for always being worried and always being on edge. You can see that in the breed, that generally all of them are kind of a little bit more anxious and on edge. That doesn't mean every German Shepherd is going to be anxious and on edge, but you can kind of tell, like, okay, there is probably an innate predisposition that this person was probably just born with a mindset that is likely going to have this type or this set of emotions. And then there is this is kind of the nature versus nurture. What happened to that person? How did that person experience life, have life experiences that changes their emotions? So, for example, did they have something bad in the past happen to them that pushed them into more of the anxious state? Did they have sad things happen that pushed them more into depression? Did they have different things that rewarded or punish certain emotions? So, for example, I do see this with like older males where they were just raised to not have emotion, and now they just don't know how to handle those innate emotions because they've never gone through that nurture of what do you do with this range of emotion. I see it some in the mentally handicapped, where they will feel even a great amount of joy, but not understand how to process that joy, but do know how to process certain other emotions like anger. So instead of actually feeling joy, they kind of just go all into anger because that's the only way they know how to feel a lot of emotion. That one's a little bit not so much nature nurture, but that one's more of nature. But many things can kind of change how we approach emotions or how we feel emotions as we grow up. And there's certain things in our life that can change how strong of emotions are. If we are in a very difficult life situation, we have a lot of life stressors. Our emotions can end up being worse or more towards the extreme. You see this a lot in personality disorders, which are also very much a range, where many times some people are predisposed to extremes of emotion that can cause even more bad problems. But you can see that when they're less stressed, that range of emotion isn't nearly as bad. They've got all their things taken care of. They don't have that full or extreme range as they did when they have a lot of life stressors. And then when they have a lot of life stressors, they get those range of emotions a lot stronger, a lot faster, a lot more to the extreme, and a lot more negatives to them. So usually when I break it down, I go, okay, if someone is anxious, depressed, or even manic, what is going on? What is causing that? Is it that I was just born with this and that is my base setup that I'm always going to have that? Or is there something going on right now that is causing that anxiety, that is causing that depression? And then that also helps guide what you should do with it. You know, what should you work on therapy? Should you be mindful? Should you analyze it? How should you cope with it? Or should you do medications for it? Now there's positives and negatives of all of those, but usually, just like the rationalists, we believe you should analyze, understand, and then make a well-reasoned decision based on it. And just like morality, there's no hard set of rules. It's not like you're depressed, take a depression pill, which is a lot of how some doctors or other people treat emotions. They just go, oh, you've got depression, oh, it's causing a problem, here's a pill. That will fix certain types of depression, but it's not necessarily the best choice for all of them. So usually when I'm talking with patients, or even if I'm talking with other people and they're dealing with problems with emotions, I always go over risk benefit. What is the benefit of using a medication? What's the benefit of doing therapy? What's the benefit of talking it out? What's the benefit of rationalizing it? And then hopefully you can make a plan to maximize the net good. What is the best plan given all the options we have? Sometimes medication is an option. Sometimes the medication is actually going to fix it. Like if the cases where it's just an innate predisposition, that's a lot harder to fix with therapy, mindfulness. It's not impossible to fix, but it is a lot harder when you're just feeling those feelings for no reason versus the ones that have real reasons. Those ones do a lot better with therapy. Not to say that it's exclusive, but those ones you can actually undo that knot that is causing those and get a lot more permanent relief when you fix the underlying causes. So usually my approach is very individualized, and I think if anyone watching this is struggling with too much emotion, too strong emotions, negative emotions, or even too good emotions, which is the hard one to catch, you should always kind of think about what are your options, and maybe even talk to a couple of professionals or medical professionals to say, what do you think I should do? This is what's going on. Is this a point where it's medication, or should I try to explore some other options? Or you could even, talk with someone in the church or talk with a friend. There's lots of options, and it's not always difficult to tell what is the easiest or best one. Obviously, here we are always happy to listen. So I do say if there's a church member who wants to go through therapy, or not really therapy, but basically I like a rationalist approach where if someone's going to bring up a problem or question, I give a back and forth where we kind of go, okay, is this logical? Are we using good reasoning? What are our approaches? What is the good and bad? I usually don't like to just tell people, like, oh, go divorce him or go do this. Usually I act more like a sounding board. It's more of like, does this make sense? What is your thought process? Are there any logical flaws in the thought process? And are there, obvious things that you have not thought about with that? So if someone is, interested, I do set up private sessions for that with the church. But once again, not trying to solicit it. It's just something that is an option. I think that is it for today. So if anyone does have any comments or questions, let us know. We'll be back next week, hopefully with what the options will be in terms of the church funding. And then we'll go from there. I hope everybody has a great Sunday, and I will see you all next week.